So what we did was we formed, and this, I'm fast forwarding all of this, we formed an initiative that's called Three Communities, One Common Agenda. And the three communities that we're focusing on is McLeod, Canton Club, and also Colonial Heights.
Parkway.
And Parkway. Started out as they did, we found out it was for it, and Parkway. And so we worked in partnership with Columbia University, and they provided us with a cohort of students. And what we realized was that communities really weren't talking to each other, and how could we bring community together to do some problem solving? And we developed a communications plan. From the communications plan, we developed this asset mapping and everything, and we formed a community advisory board, and we call it the CAB. And I would like everyone that is a part of 3C, 1CA, which is what we call the initiative, and the CAB, the Community Advisory Board, to please stand up. These folks have worked diligently for we're going into the first year. And one thing that I could say is that beyond any shadow of doubt, they love their community. And they want the best for their community. And we want to do everything that we can do as an organization to help to make their communities and all of communities, but ultimately the greater vision is to make the entire city of Jackson more livable, more accessible, and more adaptable and more sustainable to climate change, because that's what our organization is centered around, climate change and environmental justice. We partnered with Georgia State University, their capstone program for the CIS, and we wanted to do two things. We wanted to develop a website, because that was the first implementation of the communications plan that the Columbia students did. And we wanted to do an asset mapping. And the listening sessions and the meetings that we have been having, different issues popped up. And one of the issues that popped up was community wanted to know who and what was in their community. Who owned what was available, what wasn't available, and that whole kind of thing. So we said, okay, well, we need to do some asset mapping. And we worked with a cohort of students from Georgia State University, and we did an asset map. And we didn't bring the asset map, but in the asset mapping, what we realized that there was a large swath of land, like 178 acres of land, that ran along the Pearl River that has a sandbar. And the issue that we were trying to address is flooding. So we said, well, what can we do with this land? Or what can be done with this land in order to see if it can do two things. Help with the flooding, right? It's a nature-based flood mitigation solution. And also to make the community more livable, more active. And during that time is when we learned about an initiative that EPA had offered, the Environmental Protection Agency, called the Community Change Grant. And it's a large amount of funding, and they wanted large projects. And so I talked to Juan, who has been working with us, and I said, in order to qualify for this funding, it needs to be something big. And we learned from, under the Obama administration, with AA, whatever it was now, funding that one of the things that our communities didn't get resources because they wanted things to be shovel ready. Right? And we said, okay, we know they're going to ask for it to be shovel ready because I had been attending all of these meetings. And what could we do with this big swath of land? And so we said, let's apply for technical assistance and It's going to be based on developing the feasibility of this land, what it could be used for, to convert it into a nature preserve and a asset to the community. And that's what you see up here, and that's what we are working towards. And we were selected. I just found out that our project was one of 12 out of how many?
A whole lot.
So we were one of 12, so that makes us feel even more encouraged and makes us feel even proud of the work that our CAB and the community has been doing over this last year. So I'm not going to take up any more. We were granted the technical assistance. There was no actual funding associated with, but I will tell you what it equates to is a significant amount. And EPA, they partnered our organization with SMM, and SMM stands for, I just call them SMM. Okay, SMM. And SMM is an architectural landscaping architectural firm out of New Orleans. And so they came on February the 22nd. That was the site visit. We had a fairly large community engagement. We put out lots of flyers in the community. And so from February the 22nd in the site visit up until now, they have developed the renditions that we will be submitting for funding. We just had a really productive meeting with the councilman, Councilman Foote. He was very impressed by the work, by the project, and he is in support of it 100%. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Liz and her team, and they're going to share your new park.
I don't want to be out of order, but has the park already been approved?
When you say that's what all
You said that they're going to present the information about the park.
Mm-hmm. The design. It's just in the design phase right
Okay,
now.
and then you mentioned another thing that you didn't specify how much money that you received. That's what I want to know.
We haven't received it.
You haven't received it. Okay. You were talking about a large amount, and I assumed that you knew what you were talking about. Because if you talk about a large amount, then I need to know. And then I need to know out of that grant how much you all
identify
were.
yourself now?
Huh?
Can you identify yourself?
Oh, yes, I'm Dr. Betty Joyce Johnson, I'm a pastor, and I stay at 5830 Cypress Trail, and I think I know my friend right here, but I just like to know information, you know.
Of course, absolutely.
Because for one thing or not, my neighborhood don't need a park. We need somebody to fix the system, because I was in the flood before, and a park ain't gonna do nothing for us. I don't want, and really truly, I don't want a second hand, I want a first hand. I don't want to be brought out just because we got a park in here. Neighbor, we got 2 parks all the way around.
Well, let's listen.
I'm gonna listen.
And then
Then we'll go from there.
Yes.
Okay, I just
and
want
we'll go from there, and then you will see how this is not a full solution to the flooding issues. Those things are also being worked on. However, it's a part of the solution.
Well, I don't need a Band-Aid. I need a problem solved.
I understand.
Okay, I just want to make sure,
Okay, I understand.
because I got a letter, and it was stated, I said, wait a minute. Nobody on my street, they said, so we don't need a park. That's all everybody telling me, that the park has already been agreed upon.
Well, that's why I'm having to.
Okay, I'm gonna let them go ahead and talk.
Yes.
Because I know they're not here. I know you're not here just on your own. You have to receive some finance just to get here.
Yeah, I'm happy to
right?
speak to that. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you want to speak on that? And
Yes,
tell me the budget?
I will
Okay.
speak to you about the process that we've been going through, maybe just
Okay.
piggybacking on some of what Ms. Ramona was talking about. So we are paid by the EPA.
Okay,
So we are contracted with the EPA. We have multiple of these projects that we're working on.
Okay.
And so Ms. Ramona's organization applied to the EPA for technical assistance.
Okay.
And so we are providing that technical assistance. And these designs that Ms. Ramona and her organization will then take and apply for this larger sum of money.
okay. And will you give the definition, since she didn't know what it stands for, EPA?
The Environmental Protection Agency.
Okay. I knew what it stood for. cause I did a little research before I got here. But I needed you to tell everybody else just in case they didn't understand what EPA stands for.
I was happy to
Excuse me.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, she didn't say she doesn't know what the EPA stands for. We were actually just at a conference with the EPA. She knows it very well.
Okay, well, thank you so much, sweetheart.
You're welcome.
Because I love folks to give me more understanding.
Oh,
She
yeah.
said
Thank you so
SMM.
much.
She said SMM.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, she
Thank
said
you.
SMM.
Okay. I just wanna make sure. Thank you, baby.
Yes, our organization's name is Spackman Mossop Michaels, but that's a mouthful, so you can go by SMM. And in terms of the process that we're going through this EPA program, and this is pretty standard across the EPA with this program. So we came for a site visit in February, where we met with the community, we met with Ms. Ramona and her organization, we went to the site. And tonight, we're in the process. We've taken some time and we've developed a series of draft designs for this parcel that I'll speak a little bit more about in a second. And so what we're hoping to hear from you all tonight is looking at the options before us. Are there elements that you think that would be great in your community? Are there things that we've missed that you think we should add? So that we can go back and refine the designs and prepare the final design products that will eventually then go into the grant application to the EPA. Are there any other questions about that process?
Okay, first question. The large parcel of land that she mentioned, who owns it?
The city of Jackson.
The city of Jackson owns it. So, because the reason why I'm here is because not too long ago, there was another flyer that came out, and it was talking about a flood project, and they were talking about moving people out and these other things. And so I was just wondering, is this a way to get around that other project
No.
and put this
No,
project?
sir.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
We are taking a very different approach to flood management and flood risk in this area compared to that plan, and that's by using nature-based solutions. So while it is a park, and one of our main goals is to provide a community asset that will provide recreation opportunities to the community, I'll just wrap this up real quick and then I'll come back to you. That's okay. We are going to be also making green infrastructure improvements, and that's to the neighbor Canton Club, but also to the neighborhood surrounding the park, but also within the park itself, trying to restore some of the natural hydrology and the creeks so that this particular site is able to absorb both water that comes from storms and water from the river. It's not going to completely alleviate that flooding, but we are hopeful that it will reduce some of that flooding and slow the water from rising so far into the surrounding neighborhoods.
Identify creeks.
I'm sorry?
Identify which creeks.
They're not existing creeks, they are just sort of degraded creek beds. It's not Purple Creek, it's not any of the existing creeks that are.
I wanted to know the process of the way you all are going to go by to establish this park, community-wise. Are you all going to, like, say, take people's communities, take their houses, or how is that going to come about?
Absolutely not. So currently there is nothing on this parcel. It is owned by the city of Jackson, it's adjacent to the Pearl River, and we have some site photos over on this board that I think would be amazing if everyone could look at, that sort of talk about the condition of this existing parcel, but there are no buildings and no homes on it, and we're not proposing any buildings or homes to go on it. So I'm Liz, this is Emily, this is my colleague Wes. We're going to stand up here and we are happy to talk through the options for the project with you. We are open to answering any and all questions about the process for the project, and we are more than happy to take any and all feedback that you might have
You all
about this.
mentioned Parkway Drive.
Mhm.
Now, on the corner of Parkway Drive and Imperial, every time it storms or hard rain, there's a flooding area right there. And I mean, y'all said something about redoing the water system or however you were supposed to do it, but that has never been taken care of.
If I may address that, I'm Tamika Nolan, part of the 3C1CA, which is part of it. I'm one of the residents that live in your group. So the individuals who stood up, we're actually working on that particular area and other areas in your all's neighborhood. So, storm drains, we are working with the superintendent of drains and bridges. The bridge that you were speaking about, that was mentioned earlier on Cedric, we're working on those. So we're trying to deal with the emergency issues now, which is Imperial, that particular location you mentioned.
But the street I'm mentioning is Parkway between Imperial.
Exactly, we are working on those. So we have 9 active tickets right now to try to get that done. That's just the first phase. There's several other different phases that we're working on.
We just need to know what the.
I understand, and that's why it's so important for everyone to come to these community meetings that we've been having in the past, so you all can be in the know. We believe in transparency, and you are 100% correct. I do want to stress that the One Lake project, this is not that meeting. This is not the meeting. So I know if you all were coming to try to get some information, now we can provide what we are at the current status it is now, which is we're trying to wait on some more information coming down from Corps engineers. But right now, we are really working on, the community is working on those particular issues you're talking about, the storm drains, trying to alleviate any kind of, issues with that. Creeks, ditches that need to be cleaned out. We are personally working on that right now.
How do we get our problem, which everybody, most of the people here know about my problem,
Yes.
but how do I get my problem on your list?
Matt, you let me know, we have Purple Cricket on the list as right now, so we are working with MDEQ. We're working with a lot of agencies to try to get these things done, but guess what? It is a process because we're dealing with manpower issues, we're dealing with funding. Okay, so my thing is, don't hesitate to let us know what your concerns and questions are. We're going to be passing around some information so you all can write down, and I'll walk around it myself just to try to get you all concerns. But I do want to stress, we have to work together and not apart, because we're more powerful together than apart. And so, and I'm letting you know that this particular community, this group, is part of the community. So you're working with your neighbors. Your neighbors are ensuring that your voice definitely being heard to our elected officials and so forth. So I just want to let you all know and stress, we are working on you all's concerns because it impacts us.
And who are you with again?
I am Tamika Nolan. I'm part of the 3C1CA, which deals with the McLeod, Parkway, Colonial, and Canton Park. So we kind of working in different areas.
Right.
So
So
the
you're
park,
with Ramona.
that's right. So then we have the park issue that's going to alleviate. We're working with the inside issues, dealing with the storm drains, the hydrants, and so forth. So there's a lot of different issues. But I'm just letting you know, we definitely understand what you all are going through, and we are working with the proper individuals to ensure that we get the proper resources to be able to move the progress needle further to the completion as soon as possible. Are there any other questions?
Yes, I have one question.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
mentioned that you were working on, you having problems with manpower. But what about the funding? Do you have the funds already labored?
I'm gonna tell you who have the funds.
Who have the funds?
When the property taxes that we pay.
I'm not
go to
talking,
the-
I'm not talking about
But you are
that.
asking.
I'm
me
asking
questions.
you, because the one thing that people need to know whether or not, do you have the fund in place for all the things you said you had 9, I think. Give me straight, because y'all know I'm 68 years old, I'm a little old, so I may not remember everything. But you said that y'all were working on the project. You don't have the funds in order to do the project. How you gonna present the
But
project?
ma'am, what I'm trying to express, if I
Go ahead,
may,
speak up.
if
Go
I
ahead.
may, your property taxes that you pay, that's what funds these particular projects. We just working with the individual who actually go out and do the work to ensure that the problem is addressed and it is fixed.
Okay, I pay
So,
my property tax
I
every year,
understand.
and guess what? It's 2.5 years since the flood happened,
totally
and have
understand.
nothing been done.
I know.
Now you tell me what you're
I
gonna
know,
do
and
now.
that's what we're doing. I'm just a regular resident that is
It's
fighting.
40
We all are
years.
fighting.
But you employed, am I right?
No, I'm not employed.
You
No one pays me.
okay, you doing,
No one
okay,
pays.
well,
This is
well, thank
volunteer.
good.
All of this is volunteer. We are volunteer.
This is all
Yeah, we're not
volunteer.
getting paid,
Just
okay?
someone from Ramona to pay.
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay,
Yes.
okay, good.
Yeah, so we're not getting paid. So
Okay.
I'm just a neighbor just like you. I'm your neighbor.
Okay, do the city have a representative here today?
Actually, Foot was here early today and he is
What?
on board.
Well, Foot ain't did nothing the last 2.5 years old, so we're not gonna talk about him. I'm trying to see, I know you, you got a solution, I don't mean to hold you all up, but I know you have a solution, but I need to find out where is the funds If they've been there, I've been paying tax for a long time, and the funds have nothing been done to my
But
sewage
you know
system.
what? There is some progress being made, I promise you. It is, it's slow, but it is being made. And I don't have a problem conversing with you one-on-one, but so we can
I
move
get your
forward.
card, I'm gonna be through, I'm gonna get your card and I'll call you.
Great, all right.
And also, ma'am, she is being as transparent as she possibly can be, because here's the thing. It's time for us, the citizens of these communities in Jackson as well, to hold our representatives accountable. And as she just said, we pay our taxes, we live here in these communities, we take care of these communities, and the best something that we possibly can do at the home front is when we cut our yards and we have people come and cut our yards and move debris and stuff, please make sure that they don't stop these drainages up, because if they do that, that's gonna start your minimum flooding. That's gonna be your minor flood that's gonna have water up in your yard. It's gonna cause mosquitoes, it's gonna have snakes and everything else. And we are trying to make sure that everybody in these communities that are involved know what's going on. This is why we was passing these flyers out. This is why we was inviting everybody to these meetings. Because our neighborhood association presidents, I don't know about you all, but ours just wasn't giving us what we need with this. Now, as far as taking care of the communities and doing this and doing that and joining the communities, that's their business, and they were doing that to the T. But when it came to this flooding, when it comes to all this other stuff, and us holding our city accountable for what they're not doing, and right, you have a right to be mad, man. You have a right to be mad.
Hold on a minute, let's get something straight. Never assume that I'm mad, I'm not mad.
Well, you have a right to
I have
voice your
a
opinion.
right, but say that, get it right,
You have a right
because
to
I'm not
voice your
mad.
opinion, because you, just like anybody else, nobody is going anywhere we're not gonna do. We're gonna stand here, we're gonna do what we're supposed to do, and this is what it's all about. We are the people that, if we don't open our mouths and do what needs to be done, it won't get done. Is that right,
Excuse me, everyone, Miss Betty, excuse me, Dion, I'm right here, and we have done a whole lot in the neighborhood. We have done a whole lot in the neighborhood. in Canton.
We're talking about in regards to
But
the
as
flooding.
far
We're
as
not
the
talking about
flooding,
the
sir, we
cleaning up
have
and
done
all
a
that.
whole lot. Even the flooding that's on your street, that's in the creek, we have done a whole lot. We hold our meetings, and I don't ever see you there. But we have meetings all the time. But we have done a lot in our neighborhood. So
But
if
we
you
all
feel
need
that
to,
way, I'm
we all need to
sorry.
get together, these three neighborhoods, and with our neighborhood associations, and we need to get this communication together, get on board, and we need to get this thing wrapped up, because what they're proposing here now is not to take anybody's property, it's to enhance our neighborhoods, it's to enhance the property. And just look at what's presented here. We went back there and we saw all of this, this is firsthand stuff that we went back to visit this, and this is a good plan. And if you for it, then that's good. If you're not, then don't go for it.
Well, that's what we said when we asked y'all to come to the meeting, sir, to come and then voice everything, but we never, you said that you didn't want to come because you want nobody to tell you what to do at your house.
No.
But what we doing,
You
that's why we're here,
You
is
asked us
to
to
find out.
come to a meeting and join a neighborhood association, which we have already been a part. Now, where was the neighborhood association when the flood came in 20? When this water was up in our houses, you would know where to be found. You just came out of the woodwork talking to us. So
Dion, we delivered the same.
Let's get back to the business at hand.
Yeah.
Let's deal with the presentation. If we're all passing our information around, let's communicate later and come together and get a better understanding.
And before you do that, let me just advise, we were the ones that had the say and delivered on Deer Trail as well as on
Okay, we can
River
address that
Road.
then. Okay, so let's go on with the presentation.
Let's
please.
move on.
Let's move with that.
Thank you.
We are going to, we would really love for you all to look at the drawings, and we are happy to explain anything and answer any questions, but we will be up here with the boards, and we would love if you all could come up and have a look.
And may I, before we start looking, I wanted to touch back on the drainage issues. That's been a concern. As Tomita mentioned, we are really, Tomita is doing a lot to communicate with people in the, Tomita, you do a lot of work.
You're right.
And I want to thank you for that.
Her research is valuable.
To communicate with the city and state agencies to figure out what's happening to the drainage system, why are so many clogged drains, why do we have so many clogged drains. This project in particular would, if fully implemented, would would improve the drainage, specifically in the back part of Canton Club. So, Miss Betty, that's in your part of the neighborhood, Foxborough, River Road. The idea is to use the city's right-of-way to create essentially a new drainage system that can drain onto this park. So this is whenever Liz, our architect, mentioned that there is this addresses flooding. It specifically addresses rain-based flooding, which those of you who drive in that back part of the neighborhood when it rains know that some streets become impassable after heavy rains. So this park would directly address that issue. I want to make sure that that's understood. But I just wanted to make sure people knew that. I think the architects now have invited us to come and take a look at what they've presented. They have two options, option 1 and 2. It's different ways that the trails are set up. These trails would be resilient even when the river gets high, so it was near 30 feet a few weeks ago. Much of the park would still be accessible at that point. So this thing is intentionally designed to be a park that floods. And feel free to ask them questions about the designs, ask me questions that I might be able to help you with some of them, or I'll just direct you to them. Or it seems like there might be some neighborhood-related questions that you guys want to have a conversation about. I think that's fantastic. But I just wanted to get that out there, and thank you all for listening.
Juan, could we also maybe, I know we did it at the beginning, but maybe if the members of the CAB could just identify themselves again, I think that would be helpful.
And what neighborhoods you live in?
Yeah.
So,
Everybody in the room?
yeah, my name is Carl Nichols. I'm a part of the CAB. I'm a part of the Parkway Association. And, since I do have the floor, I will say that the goal is to make our neighborhoods better. And there's so much strength in numbers when we take on anything that might come against us as a neighborhood. So if we can create unity, get to know each other, have a source for information. I won't have all the answers, but I think I got access to some of the folk that's bringing this to us. So, if I can give some assistance, even if it's conflict, I think through conflict, you can establish unity and you can grow. So I don't mind the fact that a lot of us are disappointed with something maybe in our neighborhood. But again, the nature of the group is to try to, in a logical and presentable way, get an understanding of what our challenges are, and then devise plans that can help us to overcome those challenges. That's what I think this group is about, and therefore I welcome any of you that want to talk to me if I can make your situation or your understanding better.
And I'm Dion Thompson, and I live in Canton Club, and once again, ditto to what Mr. Carl just said, which is true. And to my neighborhood association president, I want you to know we'll do everything we possibly can to work with you, but we're going to do it the right way.
I'm James Donaldson. I live in the Parkway, on Parkway. And thank you guys for keeping your composure, but don't lose your passion. You just need to be cohesive, passion, and just communicate better.
That's right.
We're here as neighbors, looking out for us and you. So let's not be adversarial, but understand that passion we have can get things done.
Hi, I'm Shauna Cruz. I'm part of the neighborhood association, Parkway neighborhood. I'm part of the CAB.
Some of the groups stepped outside, so if you're good, if you want to get them, that's fine. Otherwise, we move out.
Hello, my name is Tamika Nolan. I live in the McLeod neighborhood. Just a regular resident. That's it. Willing to volunteer. When one person flooded, we all are impacted. So we just need more volunteers to assist, because when you work together, I believe in teamwork makes the dream work. There's no I in team. We need everyone to be a part of the team, and there is a place for each and every one, even our children. Bring them along, because they are our future. They are our legacy. They need to see us working together. So that's all I want to add.
Tamika, you mentioned something, she said there's a place for everyone. It's very important to me that even renters know how important they are. If they've chosen to be a part of our community for a time period, while they are here, they're as important as everybody else because they've chosen to be there. We want them to have value in what they are affiliated with, as well as, I've been here 20 plus years, 28 I think to be exact, but some of you even longer than that. But let's not dismiss or belittle any renter, because we want them to feel as comfortable and as a part of as the rest of us. Yes, ma'am.
It's okay for renters to live in a community.
Amen.
But they should have to understand to keep the upkeep of the community.
That's right.
If they're living in a decent community, do the same. You living around neighbors that keep up the community, you see, you every day, do the same. Keep up your area where you live. That's the way I see it.
That's exactly right. I just think that each of us have, like, you know, we hear things
Now,
and we
I
say
don't have
things.
anything against renters now, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But learn to keep
Wait.
up your area where you live. That's all I'm saying.
In line with that, we hear things and we say things. And sometimes we make it seem like just because they are renters, they're not connected. We want to make sure that we connect them just like everybody else. That's a great comment. I'm done. Was there any other member of the cab we wanted to do?
Homeowners, renters, and businesses, I'm representing Community Bank. That's also in the neighborhood.
And then it's also been on our board since we started. So we are, and MCUP's board president is here, and we're just here to assist, to bring years of experience in community and economic development and bringing resources to bear. Chanel, when you did the test, will you share the work that you've done in your community in Duck Hill, Mississippi?
When Ms. Whitney came to Duck Hill, she had a grant, and we were trying to figure out what we was going to do with it. So we formed a committee, just basically pretty much like you all did, and decided what all we was going to do. But Duck Hill, y'all can go on the internet and look up MCUP. Duck Hill was flooded. I mean, Main Street, when it rained, it would be almost on the inside of your car going down through there. It was just that bad. So once we was able, with the funds that we received, we went and put in a system that deteriorated the water. So now, it don't flood in Duck Hill. If the rain get up high, like real high, like some of you all get up real high, it's because it's gone over where the system that they put in. But once the water starts seeping down and get back down to where it pumps it, it will pump it over into the creek. So it'd be a matter of 15, 20 minutes, the water starting to subside. Then that's what it was in Duck Hill. We had a lot of concerns, just like you all did. But once we started working and started doing, even to this day, we're doing different things. It do take all of us. Not everybody gonna see your vision, not everybody gonna see what you're doing, but as they say, we work together. It's not gonna happen overnight, but it will happen if you stay with it. It's gonna happen, and it takes a lot of people, because I'm on the board of election, I'm on the Duck Hill board of I'm a board alderman, and it does still, that one vote, when you got 4 voting against you, but make sure your voice is heard. Make sure your voice is heard. And once that happens, people will start coming together. Okay, that's gonna work, that'll work. So right now, we're working on the Benford building, which is an old school. We're trying, that's our next project we're working on. But it's gonna take a lot of money. Now, don't think that grant money gonna pay for everything, because it doesn't. You gotta have fundraisers, you gotta have investors. It's gonna take a whole lot of people to get done what you need done. So don't think that it's gonna all be grant money. Grant money give you a certain amount, but if you only get $600,000, and it's gonna take 25 million, you know you gotta come up with some money. So that, don't think grant money is gonna solve your problem, or how much you getting. Cause MCUP, Ramona and I was the only two when we first started. We never got paid. The grants came through, we did not get a portion of that grant. It went strictly to Duck Hill for the project that we had going. We did not get paid for that. And still today, as a board, I still don't get paid. But I want you to know, it's the love of it. It's the love of your community, because like they say, I stay in this community. I want to see my community build. But it's not about the funds. It's gonna take those funds and some more funds. So you gotta stay on your elected officials, stay on the people that's involved. But don't think it's gonna all come from grant money, because it's not.
And what's so unique about this opportunity is that this is unprecedented funding. We will not see this kind of funding again. And we have to take advantage of it to make sure that the resources that are available through the Biden administration, that those resources are coming to the communities that need them the most. And that's what we fight for.
Yes. When is this projected to?
We have a short window of time, and I'm going to let Liz and them, and I'm going to let them talk about it, because we've got a short window of time that we have to get this done, that the funding is going to be available, right? So we
And then
can have
do they have a projection as
Yeah,
to
we
how
do.
long that would take?
we're going to,
Yeah.
we're going to go into the
I'm ready.
details
So
now.
the grant period runs from November, so November 2023 until November 2024. So that's the amount of time we have to get the grant in. And then if MCUP is successful in receiving the grant, then they have 3 years to spend the money. Does that answer your question? Sorry.
So
Okay.
this should take 3 years to complete.
Correct. It has to, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to.
Within 3 years.
Yes.
Within 3 years. It
So
has to be
with
completed
the, I know
within
y'all
3 years.
projected about the park, but who would maintain it? Who would keep it up?
Yeah,
If it is there.
that is something we are actively talking about, and that we have to put in the grant narrative, but we can hire people from the grant funding
Right.
to.
And how long would that last? Because I'm concerned, being that is our area. We do have people that's not keeping up their property. And then the fact of it's going back there, different activity back there, or things that's just going on back there that no one has control over. That's the biggest, that's our biggest issue, is that no one's gonna maintain it. It's going to be a home. We already have issues with homeless. We have issues with drug activity, different things that's going on in the neighborhood that the police cannot handle at this point. And we don't, we're not in agreement with it, because we don't know who's going to actually be back there to take care of it. So it wouldn't fall on, since that's our area, people drive through the area, come through there, a lot. So that would be a place for them to just hang out at, and we don't want.
These are the exact kinds of conversations we want to have today, because we absolutely hear you about those security concerns and those crime concerns. We have some ideas about how we can, maybe fence or light the park in certain ways that would maybe help alleviate some of those concerns, cameras, et cetera. I think maintenance is a second piece that I think we want to continue to talk about as well. How do we build up, we can seed the funding for maintenance in that initial 3-year period, but then how do we work together as a community to sustain that into the future through a workforce development program aimed at maintenance and things like that. So it's something that we're working on as part of this larger grant narrative right now.
Liz, you had a comment or a question back here?
Sure, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Would there be a city objection that we take care of this for the park?
That is not our intention, but we are still working out the details of that. The city right now is, we just met with Councilman Ashby Foote, and they seem supportive of the project, but they're not one of the partners on the project at this moment.
But you stated that is their lane.
It is their
That
lane.
belongs to the city.
Yeah.
Which brings me to this, because I just don't trust our local government
Right.
or our state government.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
since this is a park and the EPA is involved, can it become a federally protected park and let the federal government put their money in it and let them, let it be a federal park?
I really don't know the answer to that question, actually.
Because honestly, if you do this, and then you turn it over to the city of Jackson in 3 years.
That is not the intention.
That's not-
at all.
That's not the intention, that's what's gonna happen.
No.
They're not
So,
gonna keep it up.
as part of this grant program too, you have to have a statutory partner.
Yes.
So it's not just Ms. Ramona's organization.
Absolutely.
We have to have a secondary partner who is in charge of overseeing the funds. And that partner will likely not be the city of Jackson. So ideally, all of these longer term concerns that you all are bringing up will be addressed by this partnership with the statutory partner.
Do we have
And
any
there's other
ideas?
things that can happen as well, like, the community might want to create a community land trust, right? And then the community land trust will have ownership of the site. And then the community land trust would be responsible for the maintenance, would be responsible. So there's there's all types of angles that we can take to, first of all, we're going to write into the grant the maintenance for, we're hoping we're going to be able to spin it out to up to 10 years, right? That's going to create jobs in the community. You know, it's going to employ young people, the youth in the community. We've got to give the young people something to do. What we have up in the Duck Hill community is we have a Creek Rangers program. And our Creek Rangers program, they have gone all over the country talking about, and articles from the Huffington Post have interviewed them about the work that young people are doing to make their communities more sustainable and more resilient to climate change. Climate change is real. We cannot dismiss it. Even though the state of Mississippi is a climate denier state, the people have to understand the realities of climate change. And the reason why we're getting all of this flooding and everything is because of the increased precipitation, and it's going to get worse. So we've got to do something in order to make ourselves more adaptable and resilient and to protect our communities from the weather. So nature-based solutions is one of the major focuses, other than the big infrastructure and everything. And right now, the city of Jackson can't even keep us with clean water and garbage. So we cannot depend on them to come in and do major infrastructure work, although there are billions of dollars out here that the city, but guess what? You don't have a director of planning anymore. You don't have a public works director. You don't have a city engineer. You don't even, the town does not even have the infrastructure to do this work. So if there are organizations that are willing to come and make the investment to get it done, then let's work together and get it done. It's just about us working together, and we can do it. See, we can do it.
So it sounds to me like there's conflict here, but really, you guys are speaking in unity. You have the same concerns. The concerns that are being spoken right now are the concerns that the group have presented in the process of getting this park in place. So in the planning stages, it has already been thought of. We don't want to leave that responsibility, that burden, or that success left into the hands of the city. Therefore, as a part of the grant, it's already been addressed. Now, change is inevitable. So if you think about something that can be in place for 10 years, I mean, it's going to be hard for us to make a decision right now and have it in place for infinity. If funding is already in place to take care and address our concerns on the beginning, 10 years out, 7 to 10 years at the minimum, then that's pretty well thought out. And they're thinking about the same thing that you're addressing. They're thinking about the same thing that you're concerned about. That sounds to me like thought went into it. But you're here now, and this is the place. If there's some adjustments need to be made, some modifications, some considerations, this is your chance to have your voice. And what we're trying to say here now is, this is not your last opportunity. Make that commitment to stay connected, and we can see through this together. If it's adjustments that need to be made, you'll have your input. You can encourage your neighbors to come and give their input. Because eventually, if we're gonna be here, this will be ours, and we wanna be proud of it.
And think about this in terms of, we looking at the fact of a park, and just drilling it in your head. A park can consist of, what, trees, swings, this, that, and the other. But this is, if you look at the design, it's more like a walking trail and something of that nature that can actually maintain and take care of itself. And I mean, you don't have to worry about somebody going in there barbecuing, sleeping back there, doing this, that, and the other. But it's just a re-out to get you back out into nature. You can come home from a hard day's work, and you might want to just get on the trail, and you and your husband, your spouse, or your wife can go walking. You get close to nature. If you go back there, you can get a chance to see alligators. You can get a chance to see all kinds of things. We went back there and we saw gators, I mean, that was 10 feet long. I mean, man,
I don't know where you were taking this conversation, Mr. Dion.
No, I'm just being honest with you. That's my goal. If something is there, I want you to know. But here's the thing. If you go back there, you get in touch with nature. Maintain yourself and look at all that and just go in there. This is what it's about. It's not about trying to build something that's going to take your land. We're going to put a baseball field in your backyard. The soccer fields and all that stuff is further on down. This is for a recreational thing where you can just go out and get in touch with nature and just come to you. You might want to go out and write your next novel. You might want to go out and do some painting. You might want to go out and just get wild blueberries are back there. You can go back there and pick you some of those. This is what it's about, and we want everybody to be a part of this. This is why the designs are there, so you can come in and put your input in there. If you want some woodcock houses back there to keep them in line, or the turtles, this, that, or that, it's there. Your decision is going to have some input here as well. This is what it's all about. We're not trying to snow job anybody. We want you to know what's going on. We want you to see what the potential that our communities have. And with this flooding thing, this is going to get to the core problem, because this is our biggest problem, the flooding, and we're going to get that worked out. So let's just get on board and try to do what we can do. If you're for it, then you're for it. If you're not, then do what you can to support those that are.
Okay.
Please.
I got a question. Excuse me. I got a question about flooding. So we know in these three communities, flooding happens at different stages in different people's houses based on how close you are to the river. Right. What does this project accommodate as far as the Pearl River? Do you have anything say, if the Pearl River is at this level, water won't be in the first house yet that would have been the first one to flood? How much does this accommodate as far as alleviating the flooding, and what level?
That is a great question. We will need to do additional engineering studies on that to get more precise about it, but we do have some drawings up here that talk about the accessibility to the park at those different levels of the river. So that's a good starting point, I think, for talking about.
So you said it won't stop, some houses would still flood.
The flooding is driven by the release of the reservoir, and the only thing that's going to stop that flooding is different management of the reservoir.
Right.
Thank you. So that means that it can still flood even with this. Okay.
This is not a solution to our flooding.
So that's what we was on them.
Not the river-based flooding. It
Okay.
will really alleviate some of the stormwater-based flooding.
From rain.
From rain.
Oh, the storm base, no, okay. Okay.
So the reservoir is a whole other issue.
So this is not just what we want to find out, we want to actually help the residents back there.
Like she said,
Do you have another question back here?
Good evening. Sometimes Kitchen Reservoir will get so full and they release that water out because the reservoir is full and they release it out here in our neighborhood. And we get flooded out, not because it's raining, it's because the reservoir is overflowing. And they know that we are in the neighborhood and they just release the water in our neighborhood. And we get flooded for, what, 2 to 3 weeks. Water be up. One time I had to move out of my house because when they released the water from out of the reservoir, it had us to move out because it was dangerous for us to stay there.
And those are the kind of things that we really want to hear, because when we invited, I think it was in our December meeting of last year, we invited the manager of the reservoir to come.
Okay.
And it's just really kind of strange how they operate the reservoir.
It's a simple thing of how they operate the reservoir.
Right.
It's what's good for the residents
It's
of the reservoir. Because they know where that water's coming.
Yes,
Because the water comes from up north when it snows and the snow melt, and they decide, well, okay, we need to keep it at this level. But when they get that water, then they say, well, okay, we still need to keep it at such a level. So then they just release it down here.
So in other words, in environmental justice, what your communities are labeled as what we call communities like are experiencing these kind of things, sacrifice communities. Because your communities are sacrificed so that other communities don't get flooded out.
Right.
And he admitted it.
Right,
He
that's
really
right.
did, because we asked
They
him,
give us a
do
warning
the
because,
communities around the reservoir flood?
yes.
And he said no.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why those communities are is because they open those floodgates and they discharge it down into.
But they take their time opening up, they open it up, and at the end of the street, they'll get a rise. And so they'll give us a sign, give us a warning, they're getting ready to release. They don't release all of the gate at one time, but they give us days, and then every day it rise. So we've been there, I've been there long enough to know by that third day when they getting ready to open, it's up a little high. It's time for me to get in my truck and let's move, because it's gonna release the next night when you're asleep and you can't get out.
But those are other issues that are more long-term issues, like for instance, we learned from the gentleman that he answers to the board, a reservoir board.
Right.
Well, see, they own all the land.
They own all the land.
That's why they don't want the land to flood.
700 acres and acres of land. They own all the land.
Reservoir.
However, the way that the board is structured is your board of supervisors, they appoint someone to the board, to the reservoir board, and then the governor appoints someone to the reservoir board. Well, for Hinds County, guess what? The one that was appointed by
Robert Graham appointed someone who hasn't attended but maybe one meeting.
Right, in 4 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
And the one that's appointed by the governor was like 8 years.
Right.
But he died soon, but it's not been replaced. So that lets us know that we have an opportunity to make a systems change. Get someone from the community and let's recommend that they get on that board. Right? Right.
They need to dredge the reservoir.
And yes.
My bad, Ms. R. Is there a way that we can find a way to petition so we can force them and get enough?
Yes, we can.
I mean, 'cause it looks like, if we keep being separated and we're not playing any kind of engineering, caveats to try and link up things to try and stop the flooding, we need to play another type of role to force them with petitions and probably try and find somebody on the news that can get on board with us and get these petitions going and start throwing it in their face every time we have a meeting, because last couple of meetings I went to the town hall, they were happy because they got the garbage thing taken care of. And it was almost a fight one of the days. And I didn't hardly see anybody I knew. But we need to start sticking together to get this petition going, maybe keep throwing it in their face every time they get in camera. Let's throw a petition in their face, and what you gonna do about this? Make them, enforce them to do something. We elected these people and they're not doing nothing.
Right.
Angela's raised her hand a couple.
Liz, so with the park, help the flooding in the neighborhoods, what my main thing. So how would it do that if it's coming, would it help with the flooding that's coming from the reservoir?
No.
So what kind of help would it, because that's the main thing, that's where the water's coming from the reservoir, that's flooding on those back streets. So how would this actually help the residents in the neighborhood? Because if it's, so how's that?
If I can comment on that, because she said two different things. We have problems in our neighborhoods, and I gotta tell you, I personally don't have the problem. So when I say we, I'm including you. It's not I just haven't been an area where I'm not personally impacted at this point much. However, we see it all the time. We have problems with excessive rain, storms that come through, and things of that nature, okay? And it's more likely that we're gonna have a storm or a heavy rain than it is that we're gonna have a 33 feet flood. So that is definitely a concern that all of us have, and the stronger we get collectively and in numbers, the better we'll be able to go and try to petition that. But however, just last week or 2 weeks ago, we had heavy rain and we started taking pictures of some of the streets and things of that nature. And because of some of your efforts, even today they were out there cleaning the drains and things. We put in several petitions to the city. We heard all of their complaints and things of that nature, equipment failure, shortages of workers and things of that nature, resources. We got a lot of excuses, but because of the consistency and the strategies, today, in the last few days, we've been seeing things happening on the streets. So that's success. It's not eliminating the problem, but it's progress. As it relates to the storms and the heavy rains and things like that, this will help in that. As it relates to the flooding that you have addressed a few times, that's the levee board, the reservoir, and their decision to release. And the only way we're going to have a voice with that is if we come together and build up our unity with things like this, so that when we get ready to take them on, which is a much bigger fish, we're already together in harmony, and we have one voice in order to take on those challenges. We'll be heard if we go in unity. But if we keep doing the mosquito, it's gonna bite, it's gonna hurt, but it's not gonna be the answer to our solution. So just so you're clear, this will not take care of that.
I understand that because the neighborhood association, we take care of ours. If there's flooding, storm drain clogs, we usually, if it's reported or if we see it, we report that to the city. We've always done that. Well, most of the time we see it, we will report it. We get the same, the feedback that they don't have they send someone out, we have our tickets that we report, keep track of those, and then just follow back up with those with the city. But the main question was, I want to know how would the actual park help the residents that, that actually flooded back there, if that would help. And I know that most of that's coming from the reservoir releasing the water, but wanted to know if this right here would actually help, or is this just something that's, that's out there that's for everybody? We want to know how would it actually help the flooding that, that's been going on back there, especially on those back roads. Yes, that's.
And that is one of our primary goals with this project. I'm going to talk you linearly through how some of these things work.
Okay.
But we're basically trying to address flooding in a minor way from the reservoir